what is going on, guys? I hope you guys are doing well out there in quarantine, and welcome to the Courtside podcast. So, did you guys watch The Last Dance last night? What are your guys' thoughts on the episodes? Personally, me growing up a Lakers fan and a Kobe fan, I really wanted to tune in to see Kobe in the beginning of episode 5, where he was talking about Michael Jordan being like a big brother to him, and Michael Jordan said something along the lines of, this little Laker boy is going to take everyone one-on-one. So it's just kind of funny how Michael Jordan knew that Kobe was going to be a special player, and how Kobe really looked up to Michael Jordan the way he did. And they also, shared phone numbers with each other, and they really formed a relationship that most athletes don't really, they don't really form a relationships with each other. They're just trying to compete against each other, usually. So I find that pretty interesting. And Kobe also mentioned how without Jordan, he wouldn't be able to win those 5 rings, because basically, it's like a chain reaction from one player to another. They absorb the information they take from, a player that they admire. So essentially, Jordan taught Kobe like how to play, how to be better, and then Kobe taught LeBron how to play, so it was just pretty interesting how that kind of like works out with, the different generations of players, and how, it trickles down to the current generation of players playing. The Zion Williamsons and Trae Youngs of the world looked up to Kobe, as a kid. But overall, I was a little bit disappointed in the episode yesterday. I wanted to see a little bit more of, I guess, Kobe and Jordan's like relationship. I thought there would be more like unseen footage, something like that. But I thought overall it was a nice gesture for Kobe to be featured in the Michael Jordan documentary, since, Kobe isn't the focal point of a Michael Jordan documentary. But yeah, getting into last night's episode, so the first thing was Jordan facing the Knicks, and it was basically like they were facing the Bad Boy Pistons again. The Knicks played them really aggressive, and they were getting into altercations, and it was just really physical out there. And, Chicago went down 2-0 in 93 against the Knicks. And, they came back and eventually won. And then they faced Phoenix, and they were, they obviously won that from John Paxson's 3 at the end. But they also got into other things that Michael Jordan faced, a lot of his personal issues, I guess, that he faced during his career, with like gambling, and especially the gambling, man. Someone wrote a book in the 90s about it, and his, Michael Jordan's gambling problems, and it kind of tarnished his reputation for a little bit. But Michael Jordan's one of the few people I've seen that have gambled and, still have tons of money. He's still rich as fuck. So I guess gambling hasn't really, hurt him. But kids, if you're listening, don't gamble. If you're not the owner of a professional sports team, or you're not investing in brand deals, gambling is not worth it, man. Yeah, that was basically episode 5. Mainly was, the introduction of Kobe, and then they talked about Air Jordans and how they came to be. They really became one of the most popular shoes in the 90s. They sold over 100 million shoes, and Jordan wasn't interested in joining Nike at first, but he took the chance on joining Nike, and it made him really successful to this day. Other than that, there was a couple other things on episode 5. He didn't vote for the North Carolina senator, and he got backlash for that, because I guess the senator was going against some white supremacist. And Jordan, I guess he didn't show as much support for the African American senator, and the white supremacist senator basically won the election. So that was kind of a bad look for Jordan. But yeah, that was basically episode 5. It was just about Jordan's imperfections, and how it wasn't easy being Michael Jordan, even though everyone wanted to be like Mike. Let's move on from the Michael Jordan talk and talk about the NBA season and what the plans are for the NBA season starting. I've grown more optimistic about, a season possibly starting. I'm being a little biased as I'm a Lakers fan, and it's been so long since they've made the playoffs, and I just, It's really hard not seeing playoff basketball right now. So, but I mean, there are signs that the NBA is willing to undergo a longer wait for the season to start, and it seems like they're willing to start the new season in December. And I mean, that would be great, wouldn't it? The NBA has planned to start in December for a while, so it's looking like the NBA is gonna try to get back up and running around mid-summertime, June or July. And I don't know where they're going to be playing at. I don't know any of the details yet. Nothing has really been laid out, but there is optimism in the league right now that eventually, hopefully soon, there's going to be games going back up and running. Obviously, there's going to be no crowds. That's still going to be a long process when it comes to the crowds and all that stuff, concessions and all that. But yeah, no one knows exactly where they're going to be playing at. I've heard rumblings of Disney World. I've heard Las Vegas. I heard that the MGM Grand offered the NBA to basically play there. Just rumors. I don't know if that's true or not. But shit, they could play at the Bahamas at this point. I just want to see NBA basketball games. I mean, to be honest with you guys, I want to see just any kind of sport at this point. Even if it is the WNBA, I'll still watch that. Hopefully it doesn't get down to that point, but no one mentions this. How fucking interesting would it be to watch games with no crowd? That shit would be so awkward that it would be somewhat interesting, in my opinion. Just seeing the players play with no crowd whatsoever, and you're just hearing, Draymond Green complaining and bitching to the refs, and because I always wondered what he said to the refs. But another thing is, what's going to happen with the broadcasters? Are they still going to be at the games? Are they gonna find a way to somehow live stream the games and commentate it somehow, some way? They could probably find a way, but yeah, that's another question that I have, is what's going to happen with broadcasting. Imagine some old fart like Marv Albert drinking some coffee and taking a shit while commentating an NBA game. That shit would be crazy. Alright, let's get a little bit more serious. Before this coronavirus thing, I had 3 teams that were contenders in my opinion. The 3 teams were the Lakers, the Clippers, and the Bucks. I thought any one of those 3 teams had a fair chance of making the NBA Finals and winning a championship. So yeah, those were my 3 teams that I thought had the most realistic chance of winning a championship. Obviously, the underdogs would be the Celtics or the Philadelphia 76ers. And then in the Western Conference, the Rockets somewhat had a chance to make it to the NBA Finals, but probably not. Denver is a good team, but I don't think they have, championship pieces. I'm still really hoping when this thing gets back up and running that we get a Lakers and Clippers Western Conference Finals. That would be absolutely absurd. I don't care where they're playing. I wish it was the Staples Center, but I just want to see the matchup just because those teams are so competitive with each other and they hate each other, but they're also pretty even. So that would just be a really fun matchup to watch. I feel like the Clippers want to win as bad as the Lakers do, and they have the firepower to compete with the Lakers. So if they played against each other, I expect the matchup to go into 6 or 7 games. And who knows who would have the advantage at that point. Ultimately, I still think the Lakers take the series, but it will definitely be a tough series for the Lakers. And then in the East, I basically had Milwaukee pretty much sweeping by every team they played in the playoffs and having an easy trip to the NBA Finals, with Giannis possibly winning his first ring. Doesn't have much time left with the Milwaukee Bucks. So unless they win an NBA championship, the Milwaukee Bucks show that they could win. It's going to be hard to keep Giannis in Milwaukee. No one wants to play in Milwaukee, first of all. And, Giannis cares more about his legacy. He wants to win. So he's going to do whatever it takes to win a championship. And if he can't do that with the Milwaukee Bucks, he might be a goner. But anyways, I want to get into the new possible schedule for next season for the NBA. So let's say we get this summertime playoffs, summertime madness, right? Let's say it happens, the NBA comes back, we get playoff basketball, the finals start around maybe late July, early August. There's rumors going around that the draft is being pushed back as well as the draft lottery. So basically, they're going to be pushing everything back. Instead of having summer league, it's going to be the fall league. Draft lottery, draft, like I'm guessing, would start around September, October. Well, I'm guessing September. And then free agency would probably be around mid to late September, somewhere around there. And then, of course, the training camps and all that stuff would start probably around November. And then the season would be back up and running around December, right? So let's say that happens. I think it makes sense to start a season in December for the NBA. It just sounds like a perfect time. I mean, I don't know in reality. The NBA season did start in December, I think, when they had the lockout year in 2011, and then they came back, played Christmas. So they've done it before, but like this would be a permanent thing. If they were to start a season, it would start in December, and then it would go all the way up till August. I think there's positives and negatives to that. I mean, the positive is my birthday is in August, so if the Lakers could win a championship on my birthday, I think I probably peaked in life. But I think another positive is that, the NBA doesn't really have to compete with the NFL when it comes to ratings and all that stuff. The NFL is kind of winding down at that point, so the NBA is kind of in a league of its own. That's another plus for the NBA. The only negative is not the start time. I think starting the season in December is perfect. It makes a lot of sense for the league and just for, the fans. But just like I can't foresee an NBA season continuing throughout the summertime until the end of summer, right? Like that just sounds a little strange to me. Maybe it won't be as weird, but like just the thought of that, like thinking of like the playoffs and the finals happening July, June, August, those times of the month is a little strange to me, because you damn well think that these players want to play in the summertime. No, they want to relax at, the Caribbean. So the only way that this really makes sense to me, if they start the season in December, the only way that this will work is if you shorten the length of the season. So you're still playing the finals and the playoffs. All that starts around the same time as it usually does. That's the only way this is going to work. And as much as I don't want to say this, like from the heart of hearts, I do feel like the NBA should possibly cancel this season, because it'll just, if they don't cancel the season, it's going to just start a whole, chain reaction of events. So many things are going to change. Yeah, they're going to be losing a lot of money, but you could get the money back, right? I mean, the NBA is a multi-billion-dollar corporation. But it does seem like the NBA is not at that letting go point, because obviously there's rumors going around that they're going to be pushing things back. So, I mean, the NBA doesn't want the season to end. The owners don't want the season to end. So they're going to really have to decide, man. I think it's 50-50 at this point still on whether or not the season comes back or not. Like I said, I have been more optimistic just because at first I'm like, we're not going to have sports for like 5 years. Like, shit's going to be crazy. It's going to suck. Now I'm starting to be like, all right, well, there might be no crowds, but what's going to happen here with if you're starting seasons later in the year? That's going to really, people don't notice that, how much that could really make a difference on how players play, and just, the league, how the league, and the league's going to be making more money if they start in December, obviously, because like I said, there's not really much other competition, other leagues that they have to really worry about that could take the spotlight. But it's pretty interesting, man, on what's going to happen here with the NBA especially. But it's really not just the NBA that has to worry about the start times and what's going to be happening, where they're going to be playing at. I mean, the MLB is going to have to make some tough choices. You hear rumblings of Arizona. How many stadiums do they have in Arizona? It's stinking hot in Arizona. Trust me, I've been there before. I don't want to go back. All right. But I think there's a higher likelihood of baseball coming back before basketball, just because baseball's played outdoors, basketball's played indoors, so it's a little bit more, dangerous, as well as the contact of the sport. Baseball doesn't really involve as much contact as basketball. So, but at the end of the day, they're going to have to test all these players from the MLB, NFL, NBA, make sure none of them are positive for the coronavirus. Obviously, we do not want a second wave of this virus. And just bringing this out there. I mean, it's kind of scary because like when I'm going out for a drive, yeah, I'm one of those people. I'm noticing a lot more vehicles out. I'm noticing a lot more people out. People are starting to really kind of, I guess, revolt this stay-at-home order, and it's kind of getting scary. It's like there might be a second wave of this virus if we keep putting it aside. But yeah, I'm kind of getting off topic here. I just wanted to kind of state that point. As we end our first podcast here, I just kind of wanted to talk about the all-time greats. There's been a lot of debates going on these days about, since there's no basketball on, everyone's starting to, debate about the greatest players of all time. And personally, I have a top 5 list. My top 5 is Michael Jordan's the greatest player of all time. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is the second greatest player of all time. LeBron James is the third greatest player of all time. I have Magic Johnson as the fourth best and Kobe Bryant as the fifth best player of all time. Now, I was born in 97, so for me, Kobe is my Jordan. For me, he's the best player of all time. But that's why I don't go with my own personal opinions. I kind of go with the overall opinion, so to speak, if that makes any sense. I'll give my reasonings real quick of why I chose my top 5. First off, Michael Jordan. He's Michael Jordan, the greatest player of all time. There's not really any debate about that. He's the GOAT. Second, I had Kareem. The reasons I chose Kareem was because he's the all-time leader in scoring. He was the most talented Laker of all time. He's the captain. The third player I chose was LeBron James because he's probably the best all-around player of all time when it comes to scoring and passing and rebounding. He's basically like Magic Johnson, but he could just score better than Magic did, in my opinion. Except Magic was a way better passer, like way more flashy passer, in my opinion. But yeah. The reason why I had Magic fourth was because he's the best point guard of all time. He had the height, he had the skills, he had the personality. He was the perfect Laker, and that's why I have him the fourth best player of all time on my list. And then number 5 is Kobe, just because Kobe's my personal favorite player of all time, and he inspired me and millions of other people to work hard and to not give up in life. And not only that, but he was just an amazing player to watch, especially in his prime, when he would score 81 points, or he would score 62 points in 3 quarters, or score 9 straight 40-point games. It was just amazing to watch Kobe Bryant play, and may he rest in peace. But he left a legacy, and he's one of the top players to ever play the game. Okay, I think that's going to wrap it up for the podcast today, guys. We're going to be trying to post at least twice a week. So, ring that notification bell. Stay tuned for more of these podcasts. You'll get a notification if you do. And, there's not really much to talk about right now because there's no sports, but, we're going to try to find things to talk about. It was just me today, so hopefully I'll try to get some guests in for the next few podcasts, and we'll see how that goes. All right, thank you guys for listening to the podcast, and have a blessed day.